Why Senate Republicans are demanding the Justice Department and FBI to preserve records from special counsel Jack Smith's case. And will Congressman Matt Gaetz' nomination make it through the Senate? We discuss with senior fellow with the National Center for Public Policy Research and chairman of the Project 21 National Advisory Board, Horace Cooper. Horace Cooper, thank you so much for joining.
It's always a pleasure to come on the program.
Great to have your perspective back on the program here, Horace. So Senate Republicans pressing the Department of Justice and the FBI to keep all records from special counsel Jack Smith's prosecutions of President-elect Trump. In your view, is there a likelihood of this case being dismissed? And what usually happens to such records if they are indeed dismissed?
So the purpose of the records preservation order is that we want to get a better understanding of how this case originated. You've got two critical issues. One is the appointment itself, whether or not Mr. Smith was properly appointed. And we would like to get, I'm talking about the United States Senate, I'm talking about the House of Representatives, all the information needed to understand how that came about. Additionally, there were representations made both by the Attorney General and by the White House that there has been no coordination with any non-federal entities about the investigations of Donald Trump. These records will reveal whether or not that is accurate.
Now, with that said, the GOP lawmakers, as you mentioned, they're also gearing up to investigate what they're terming weaponization of the Justice Department against President-elect Trump or former President Trump. What legal paths can they pursue to conduct this investigation effectively?
So I taught legislative process when I was a professor at George Mason University. There is almost no limit to what it is that a congressional committee can investigate, as long as you're talking about maybe the Government Affairs, Senate Government Affairs Committee, Administration Committee in the House of Representatives, the Judiciary Committee. They're going to have broad authority to ask questions.
Horace, I want to get your thoughts on the Senate confirmation process, specifically when it comes to these cabinet appointments, considering some of the unconventional picks that former President Trump, now President-elect Trump, has made, particularly Representative, or now former Representative Matt Gaetz' nomination as Attorney General. What do you think his chances are of being confirmed? And could you give us some examples of maybe previous precedent?
So we have here a situation where the Washington consensus is that someone like Matt Gaetz shouldn't sit as the Attorney General. But the real question ought to be, what does the American people believe? Where does it reside? And the American people are going to be looking very carefully at how senators go about this hearing process. Look, the new Senate is going to come in, they're going to be sworn in on the 3rd of January. They have until the 20th to look at every one of the existing nominees and make a careful decision. When people are saying, some are saying, before they've looked at any evidence, that they've already decided that they can't support someone like Mr. Gaetz, what they are saying is, they don't believe in any deference to the president. They don't believe that there ought to be a right of an administration to set its priorities. Here's what I say. If he isn't ultimately confirmed by the United States Senate, he's very likely to be recess appointed.
And that was going to bring me to my next question. Recess appointments, President Trump has shown interest in potentially taking this route. Talk to us. Does the president have the authority, and is this something within the confines of the Constitution?
All right, so let's start with when President Trump first was elected, number 45, he named an attorney general who recused himself and allowed the Justice Department to run free and undermine his first term while we would finally find out there was no there. It is incumbent upon the president, first and foremost, to see to it that his priorities, one, there's going to be a big fight over immigration. The ACLU, the left in general, probably Gavin Newsom in the state of California, will sue this administration to prevent the carrying out of the removal that millions of Americans believe is important. There will also have to be issues about the weaponization of government and whether or not deep burrowed inside the Department of Justice, there are individuals who have acted irresponsibly or even unlawfully. So that's the reason why you need Matt Gaetz or someone like him. With regard to the president, the Constitution explicitly gives him the authority to make appointments. And we had a 2014 case by the Supreme Court where Mr. Obama appointed people to the NLRB even though the United States Senate wasn't technically in a session where they weren't conducting any action. Here is what the Supreme Court said. When they're actually in recess for more than 11 days, then the president may in fact make appointments, whether those vacancies occurred a year before or whether they occurred a day before or during the recess. There will be someone making sure the Justice Department acts as an ally of this administration in carrying out the will of the American people, not a hindrance.
Horace Cooper, we appreciate you sharing your insights with us.
Thank you.